But right now, time for the Saturday panel as we preview the Cheltenham Festival. It begins on Tuesday, such an Irish flavour to the festival. Our panel this week brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Share every racing moment. Visit hri.ie or follow Horse Racing Ireland on social media. Delighted to be joined to look ahead with the dual champion hurdle and Gold Cup winner Conor O'Dwyer and Noel Mead stable jockey Sean Flanagan to look ahead to the Olympics of National Hunt Racing. Conor and Sean, how's the form?
All good, John. Looking forward to next week.
Yeah, much the same. No complaints yet. It's very early for it.
This is the Yellow Bellies takeover of the Saturday panel, lads. Wexford.
I forgot about Sean. That's right. Yeah, good.
Jeez, how could you forget that?
Well, I don't know about the hurlers at the moment. They seem to be doing quite well, but obviously, you know, you've got a great racing background, the Perrys as well. Sean, you rode your first winner at Cheltenham last year on Jeff Kidder at a price of 80-1. No crowds. We had all the lightning rod that was Cheltenham around the pandemic 2 years ago as well. So I suppose a bit of relief, Sean, that this is going to be a normal Cheltenham again.
Yeah, we should look at it was mighty last year, obviously, to ride the first winner, and it was obviously a very different week with there being no crowds there. But the racecourse did do a very good job on kind of putting the atmosphere into it, and obviously there was lots of people watching at home and that. So it was a monumental week to get the duck off the back, I suppose, and we can go back there this year hopefully and build on it again.
How did it feel when you crossed the line on Jeff Kidder?
I suppose a bit of disbelief, like he's. You go there with horses you think have chances to run big races, but he wasn't really one of them, I suppose. His work at home and all had been good, but his form was only okay. Like, but then those juveniles, you just don't know what way they're going to step up and step forward. And he's obviously done it really, really well. And then he's come back and he's won a grade 2 and won a grade 1 off the back of it. So in hindsight, he was probably really well handicapped going there, and we didn't really know it.
You are a pilot as well, Sean. You're the flying jockey. So tell us about that. Will you be flying to Cheltenham this week?
Yeah, that's the plan. The old weather looks good enough there at the minute, and so I'm riding on Sunday in Naas, and there'll be no major panic. Then I think Darragh O'Keefe has kind of stated that he'd like to jump on board as well. So the two of us will head away there around lunchtime on Monday. We'll go to Gloucester. Yeah.
How does this work? Like, where is your airport? How long have you been doing this? Give us a bit of insight into it.
I probably started flying about 4 years ago now, I suppose. It's still been long going by, but so it's a long enough whole process. It takes a good few hours before you get your private license, and I got that just at the middle, kind of just at the start of the pandemic, really. And so when I got my private license, then I live at Slane in County Meath, so Navan, just literally across the road from Navan Racecourse. There's an airstrip there, and that's where I do all my flying out of there. So. Yeah, it'll take me about 5 minutes to get up to the airfield and an hour and a half to get to Gloucester. So it's a lot handier than sitting in the airport for a couple of hours and having to go to Birmingham or Bristol and get a taxi down and fiddle about, you know.
How much of a thrill is it?
It's brilliant. I love it. Like, if you've had a bad day or you just want to get away, like you can just tip away there and no one annoys you, and it's a completely different circle of people as well. You know, you get to meet different people who haven't a clue about racing or anything, and that's involved with it, and they just want to talk about planes and the weather and stuff, and it's brilliant. Yeah.
Conor, would you fly in a plane with Sean Flanagan?
Yeah, I would, of course. Why not? I'd probably get into play with him quicker in the car, maybe.
Very good, very good. So how long does it take to cross the Irish Sea?
Well, so look at there's obviously a lot of different variations of weather and wind and different things like that. But the aircraft I'm going flying over, I'd imagine I'd be like from coast to coast. I'd say about 20 minutes, but I'd be probably about an hour and 40 or so, all in all, you know.
Very good. So is weather, given it's a smaller plane, something you've got to be very careful about?
Yes and no. Like, obviously you have to be careful of weather anyway with clouds and different things like that. But you know, if you've got a headwind, depending on the strength of the headwind, it's going to be that much slower. Like, so if you're doing 100 knots and you have a 20 knot headwind, you're actually only doing 80. You know, so it's obviously going to take you longer to get there. But then vice versa, if you got a tailwind and it's 20 knots, you're going to be there a bit quicker. So you just I've been watching it for the last 3 or 4 days, and I kind of keep watching it to see if it's going to be favourable. But it actually got a bit better, nearly more than worse. So it looks nice enough there midday on Monday, and it actually looks like it's favouring a bit of a tailwind on the way home on Friday if we get that far, please God.
Oh no, it'll be all good, and enjoy that way of travelling. Conor, I suppose the thrill for Cheltenham for you, if you're not flying planes, has been riding winners, and you've had some great days over the last quarter of a century at Cheltenham. The Gold Cup twice on Imperial Call, War of Attrition, the Champion Hurdle twice on Hardy Eustace. The buzz of riding a big winner at Cheltenham, if you could maybe put it into words for us.
Yeah, listen, John, for jockeys, that's what it's all about, riding winners in Cheltenham. Same as training, that's where you want to be. It's the Olympics of racing, as you well know. And you know, any winner is fantastic to have there. Sean will tell you, you know, your first winner can be anything. But luckily for me, my first winner in Cheltenham was a Gold Cup. So it was just amazing. It was I don't know. I don't think I took a lot of it in, and obviously the second time was better. I realised you know how special it was. But any winner there to come into that crowd and the whole buzz, it's really, really hard to put into words, you know, to explain actually, you know, how you feel. It's just amazing.
Did you feel, Conor, it's actually on YouTube, the whole programme from 1996, the Channel 4 programme. I watched it a couple of months ago because I've got a boring life. But it's interesting. Back then, we hadn't had a Gold Cup winner for 10 years. We were very much the underdog. And now we 23 winners out of 28 races last year. It's completely changed in the last 20 years, Cheltenham and the Irish. But back then, and you could see it in the winners' enclosure, Fergie, Sutherland, Imperial Call, did you feel like you had the weight of Ireland on your shoulders and you're almost playing for Ireland?
Being honest with you, John, I going out, the crowd didn't come into it for me for some reason.
Right.
You know, and Fergie was very, very supportive and gave me a lot of confidence. He just said, go out and enjoy yourself. He said, you know, ride him like a good horse and see what happens. I honestly felt little pressure now, really, being honest with you. We knew he had a chance, you know, but you weren't going there feeling this, you know, if this didn't win, you felt pressure type of thing. So it was a great way to go out and enjoy the race, and thank God everything just worked out. But to come into that sea of people was how nobody was hurt. I have no idea. It was unbelievable.
Then Hardy Eustace 2004, a bit of a shock win in the Champion Hurdle, and then the following year you had Hartibald, Hardy Eustace, Brave Inca up the hill. That amazing finish with Hartibald looking like he was going to win and he didn't pick up as well as Paul Carberry thought he would. Hardy Eustace, such a tough horse that Desi Hughes trained. To me, that was one of the best ever races of a Cheltenham race, a Champion Hurdle I've ever seen or witnessed. Did it feel like that riding that way that day?
It did, and I think you're right. You know, you can look back on as many races as you like there. I honestly don't think there's a more exciting race. Maybe one of the handicaps might have had the same thing, but for a championship race to have three horses jumping the last up to the line with a neck and head separating them was amazing. And either three could have won it jumping the last.
We look on the TV screens, we look from the vantage point where we can see everything. But if you're in front, which you were in that race, you can't. How do you kind of gauge where you are in comparison to the other horses, especially towards the finish line, Conor?
Well, for Hardy Eustace, for instance, you kind of knew on him how quick you were going. He was actually so simple to ride. You just let him get on with it. He never went too fast. He never went too quick. He was as in control as I was, being honest. You just had to ask him for a little bit each time, and you knew he would always give it to you. But you'd always hear, you'd always know how far you are in front. You'd hear the horses behind you. You'd catch them with a glimpse of them in the corner of your eye. I used to love riding the front runner. I used to love dictating from the front. It was, to me, it was a great way to ride race if you had the suitable horse.
Sean, I'm interested this year about the stress of horses, because last year no crowds, a very quiet Cheltenham. Now you've got 70,000 people there a day almost, especially on Gold Cup day. Do horses that are kind of highly strung, are they going to be at a disadvantage now next week with the normal Cheltenham, as it were, Sean?
I think so. Like, some of them have gone there last year and have excelled. But it's only a certain type of horse. Like, 98% of horses, I don't think it's going to matter too much to them. But a certain type of horse, it might just affect them. Like, you could argue that the Stayers Hurdle favourite, Florian Porter, like, he has excelled since COVID, kind of, since there's been no crowds at the races. He seems to be a little bit, more relaxed. I actually do ride out the horse a small little bit, and he possibly could be a little bit more relaxed anyway. So maybe it's not, but you could argue the fact there's nobody at the races, it is a bit of a help to him,
We talk about the joys as well of Conor of winning Gold Cups, champion hurdles. It can also, I'm sure, be a stressful place. There'll be injuries, things can go wrong, the unsaddling enclosure. I'd say sometimes it can be a tense weighing room. It's not all sweetness and light. Conor?
Sorry, John.
Sorry, just to repeat that question. It's not always sweetness and light at Cheltenham, Conor, as well. It can be stressful. You've got demanding owners. That can be the unsaddling enclosure when you don't finish in the first four. You can have injuries. It's not always... every Olympics has its losers as well as its winners. Absolutely,
yeah. And there is no more lonely place turning right when you walk into that parade ring to go into the unplaced, unsaddling enclosure. And yeah, look, most owners are great, but a lot do go with expectations that maybe they shouldn't have going there, because it is just so competitive, and everybody's there to give 100% on the day, and it can be a disappointing place. Walking into, as I said, the unplaced, unsaddling enclosure is a totally different place to a couple of 100 yards away to the winners enclosure. So, and you mentioned even coming back into the parade ring there, as I said, with Imperial Call that time, how, as I said, nobody got kicked that day was amazing, which would have put a fair dampener on it, as you said. There'll be, there are people come home out of it very, very, very sore.
Sean, when you look at the champion hurdle, and we'll begin our kind of preview of the big races of the week, do you see Honeysuckle as the people's champion in any way, being any danger of any other horse in the race on Tuesday? 14 wins out of 14 under Rachel Blackmore. She's just a marvellous horse. She won the champion hurdle last year. She's won all of her races this season. Is she going to win again on Tuesday, do you think, Sean?
Yeah, well, look at it. It's going to be very hard for anyone to stand up and say she's not. Like, she's a very, very worthy favourite, and we can't ignore the fact that she's getting the £7 off of everything else in the race, or whatever the mayor's allowance is. It's a lot of weight to be given away to a mare who is as good as any horse and better than any horse, really, at that level over that trip, and obviously goes and handles the track and does everything quite well. I haven't seen Townend as animated over a horse going for a race in a long, long time. So I just wouldn't like to rule out Appreciate It. I think, if there was any horse, any year, anywhere, any time going to beat her, I think it could possibly be him. But I think with the weight difference, he's got it all to do to beat her.
So Paul is excited about the way Appreciate It is going at home, because he hasn't been seen since he won the Supreme Novices Hurdle last year.
Yeah, and you have to be very fair to the horse. He was very impressive when he won the Supreme Novice Hurdle last year, and Willie is obviously renowned for putting horses away after Cheltenham and not bringing them back to Cheltenham a year later. Like, not many other trainers can do it, if any, and Willie can. So, I don't think that's much of a negative to the horse, really.
I think, Conor, you would know that you've got to have a good jumper to win a champion hurdle, because they go at such a fast pace. And Honeysuckle, I think the better the pace, the quicker she jumps. And she has that ability to have that kind of kick around the bend as well. Are these the reasons why she's going to win again on Tuesday, or would you maybe like something else in the field?
As Sean said, I think you'd want to be crazy to, visualise even anything beating her. She's been there, she's done it. There's no negatives. She gets her £7. As you said about the jumping is crucial. Hardy Eustace was probably the fastest horse I ever sat on to get from one side of a hurdle to another. He actually was quicker over the hurdle when he got close to the hurdle rather than standing off. He was slower. But he used to, I don't know what he used to do. He used to get his front legs landed before his hind ones were nearly taken off. He was an amazing horse. And you have to jump in a champion hurdle. As you said, they go so quick. You make one or two mistakes, you're on the back foot. You have to jump well. And like you said, she does jump well, and she jumps better in a faster race with a bit of company, I think. And again, the beauty of her, she won her point to point. You need a horse that stays. Istabrack won the Sunline Novice Hurdle 2-5. So did Hardy. They were both stayers, really. And to go that pace and to stay up that hill, as I said, it takes a little bit more of a stayer than an actual 2-miler, which she is. So, look, you'd love to be picking something. She's unbackable at the price, but it's very hard to see past her.
So your selection, Honeysuckle, Conor?
Absolutely, yeah.
And Sean, your selection?
So look at it, you can't go again, really. You know,
yeah.
We could sit down and tip favourites all night, but you know, you have to be realistic too.
We'll get to outsiders in a bit. The champion chase on Wednesday, Conor. So I'm looking here. Last year's Arkle Chase winner, Shishkin. The horse he beat recently at Ascot, a great race, Energumen. The talented Chacun Persois. Last year's winner of the race, Put the Kettle On, can't be forgotten. How do you see this unfolding, Conor?
I think if Energumen and Shishkin run their races, I think it's between the two of them, being honest. The Ascot race was just... It could be a better race than the champion chase. You know, there was no giving or taking there in Ascot. Paul done everything super on Energumen, jumped brilliant. I think Shishkin, it'll be a bit better even in Cheltenham. He jumped a small bit left in Ascot. It'll be a bit more of a test from which to suit him. Again, he's a point-to-point winner. I think if the two turn up on the day like they did in Ascot, it's between the two. But unbackable Shishkin, but he's the one I'd like to be on.
And Sean, would you see Chacun Persois as a challenger?
I know they're very sweet on them, on Chacun Persois. He's obviously a very, very good horse on his day. They had the worry last year that he said he didn't travel very well, and they said they were going to do things differently with him this year and leave him a bit short and use kind of to travel over as a bit of work for him. But I do think the two horses that are in front of him in the betting are quite special. Now, the flip side of the coin, they've probably given themselves a very, very hard race the last day, where both of them went at it. Like, if you get two very good horses that go at it a bit from home, they can leave a bit of a mark on themselves, and it's not overly long ago, you know, that they've done that. So if the two of them bounce back, my initial thought of it when I saw the race, when Shishkin beat Energumen, I thought that when Energumen got a bit of nicer ground, it might see the flip side of the coin. You know, I thought Energumen totally jumped and travelled, maybe if anything a little bit too well that day at Ascot, and the other lad seemed to maybe outstay him a little bit then in the closing stages, because he might have done a bit kind of 3 out, 4 out, you know. But I don't, in the champion chase this year, I don't think I'd hang my hat on anything. I think it's going to be a brilliant rematch between Shishkin and Energumen. And if it hasn't taken too much out of either one of them, I think it's going to be between them. I can't see Chacun Persois. He just doesn't really do it for me anymore. Like, he's very, very good on his day, but he's very hit and miss at the same time, you know. Your
selection, Sean, then is?
I'm going to stick with Shishkin. I'm going to stick with Shishkin. My initial thought after the Ascot race, I thought that on better ground Energumen might beat him, but after looking back at it a couple of times, I'm just not so sure if he could or not, actually, to be honest.
So you're not a Chacun Persois man, Conor. Does that mean you're a Shishkin man? I'm
a Shishkin man, definitely. I'm a bit like Sean. Like, when Chacun Persois is on his day and on his game, he is a superstar. But he's had too many misses and a little bit unreliable. You know, whether the travelling does come into play with him, I'm not sure. But he's just gone a little bit unreliable for me. But again, as we said, unfortunately, Shishkin is a very sharp price, but I think he's the one.
The Stayers hurdle then on Thursday, lads, looks wide open. Flooring Porter, we spoke about last year's winner. Classical Dream, Paisley Park, Champ, Thyme Hill, to name a few. So your likely winner, Sean Flanagan, is?
I think Flooring Porter is a very good horse. Look at, he's gone and done it last year. He's a worthy favourite. I don't know if he's the winner or not. It's a very, very wide open race. Like Paisley Park was very good the last. Now he's beat Nottingham now, but he's given away like a half a furlong at the start. He's a dour stayer. This could go to Ed English. I like Tyne Hill as well. He was good last year in Ascot. Obviously comes up the hill quite well. I'd nearly go for a bit of value. I just, it's actually a wide open race this year. If it goes there and Flora and Porter does boil over, it's a wide open contest, and I would be looking down the field a little bit. I think Time Hill, as I said, Paisley Park, I know they've all gone there and they've all done it, but they're all beating each other all along, so there's nothing fresh in this year's renewal of it, and I'd go for something with a bit of value. I'd hang my hat maybe on Paisley Park.
Paisley Park, trained by Emma Lavelle, won the race a couple of years ago. Conor O'Dwyer, is anything taking your fancy in the Stayers Hurdle? It's my bogey race. I don't think I've ever backed the winner of this thing.
As Sean said, it's a very open race, but I'm a huge Paisley Park fan. I always loved him. Always loved the way he did things. So relaxed. Lost his way a bit this year, all right, but I do think Cheltenham brings out the best in him. And as Sean said, he gave away, so much ground the last day. I know the form mightn't have added up too much, but to do what he done, to come back and win the way he did, I think Cheltenham suits him great. He's a great bit of value. He's been there. He's done it. Listen, I honestly think, if I'm having a bet with a bit of value this week, it's him.
Okay, Paisley Park for both Conor O'Dwyer and Sean Flanagan. The Gold Cup on Friday, the 3:30 is the start time for the Blue Ribbon of National Hunt Racing. 3 miles and 2 furlongs, 22 fences to be negotiated. Wide open in terms of the way we assess the market, I think, folks. Last year's winner, Manella Indo for Henry de Bramhead, also in the same stable at Plutar, which Rachel Blackmore will ride. We got dual Gold Cup winner Alboom Photo for Willie Mullins. The Gordon Elliott trained Galvin, who's improving. We have the King George winner Tornado Flyer and the English Hope Protectorat. Which horse, Sean Flanagan, would you like to be riding in the Gold Cup?
If I had a choice of riding a horse in the World Cup, I'd ride last year's winner Manella Indo.
Why?
I just think he's not an early horse. He's all his runs and ever before like the Dublin Racing Festival have all been disappointing, and if you were to take those runs away from his career and go back to the Dublin Racing Festival last year and take that as his prep run for the Gold Cup, he probably only ran middling in the Irish Gold Cup last year before he went to the English Gold Cup, and I think his run this year in the Irish Gold Cup was much better than his run last year. As his preparation run, he absolutely loves Cheltenham. Anytime he's gone there, he's nearly won. I think at Plutard, I don't think he stays. I don't think he stays the extra 2.5 furlongs. Galvin does stay, but Galvin couldn't beat at Plutard the last day. Well, he did beat him, but only by a very short margin the last day in Leopardstown. So I'm being very, very hard on him, saying I don't think they're good enough, but I think they're not good enough in Cheltenham to beat Manella Indo. I think he's a real Cheltenham specialist, and with the way he's went and won last year's Gold Cup, I think his preparation run, his last run this year as a preparation going to Cheltenham, I think was a better preparation run than he had last year. But if I was to be a betting man and have a bet in the race, I think I'd be going for a value bet, and I'd be backing Alboom Photo each way.
Maybe they feel with Alboom Photo, and I spoke to Willie Mullins the other day, that he's back working well again. Last year he didn't seem really to be at the pitch of his powers where he was when he won both Gold Cups, so there might be a feeling that he could bounce back. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, well, even if you're backing him each way, I'm just looking at the thing here now, he's 10-1. If you're backing him each way, he was third last year. So if he's working better than what he is last year, this year, he could be a little bit closer, but you're backing him to be placed. So he's a value bet at an each way price,
Conor Dwyer, you know what it's like to win this race. You know what's required. So, in a way, you can almost, like a detective, narrow down the contenders into who are the 2 to 3, and then eventually who'll be the one you're going to pick, and then who you can rule out. So, what do you think in here?
Yeah, I wish it was that easy, John. Actually, you might as well have just had one of us on the show, because I'm with Sean. You know, again.
Oh my God, they'll diverge at some stage. Go on.
Exactly. No, I listen, Manella Indo, exactly as Sean said, his preparation is better this year, except for Kempton, which you have to put a line through. Unfortunately, Rachel and Brian, got into a bit of a tussle a long way out in Kempton, and to me, it wasn't his running. He had a fantastic run back in Leopardstown in the Gold Cup, and finished off the race super. And Henry's horses probably just weren't really on fire at that time. So it was a fantastic run. He's ran 3 times in Cheltenham. He's won the Albert Bartlett, just touched off in an RSA, and wins the Gold Cup. He's the absolute ideal credentials for it. Gold Cup winning jockey on him this year as well.
Robbie Power, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for me, he's the winner. I'd really, and again, he's a bit of value. He's 5 to 1. It's not too skimpy. So for me, he's the winner. Looking at the others, Album Photos 1, 2. It's hard to win 1, never mind 2 Gold Cups. And I know while Willie wasn't over happy with him coming along, I think he said, but he was very happy with him in Avon the last day. So he has to come into calculations. Galvin, I'm not sure really his overall form is good enough for it. Maybe I'd be a long way out proven wrong, but I just don't think it's, as I said, his overall form is actually in the book for it. So I'm thinking Manella Indo and Album Photo definitely to come into calculations. And a Plutarch, he'll be thereabouts. He has to be. He's a class act. There's very little to dislike about him. Sean might have hit the nail on the head. Maybe it's just a shade up that hill too far for him, but he'll be bang there.
We have our lucky 15, folks, for the big races at Cheltenham. So we have Honeysuckle, Shishkin, Paisley Park, and Manella Indo from Sean Flanagan and Conor Dwyer. Unbelievable symmetry here. Let's just go through quickly some of the shoulder races, lads. The Supreme Novices Hurdle, half one on Tuesday. A fantastic opener. The Roar, the Crowd, Constitution Hill, John Bond, Kilcrush, Mighty Potter. The winner, Sean Flanagan, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I've been at a couple of preview nights now, and I suppose a couple of people kind of hit the nail on the head. They said if Constitution Hill doesn't run a big race in the Supreme, and the horses said they have it in the Arkle as well, they're favourite in the Arkle as well. if the two of them don't damn near win, it could be a very bleak week for the English, I would imagine. But I don't actually know enough about Constitution Hill's form. He has been quite impressive, but I don't know why he's been really beaten. I don't know. Does this start Dynamo go there, or does he go for the other race? Like I was very, very impressed with him in Punchestown. I was second to Sir Gerhard in his maiden hurdle at Leopardstown. He was also very, very impressive. But it's a Supreme Novice Hurdle, and you need a lot of luck, things to go your way. Sir Gerhard has obviously won the bumper last year, and you can't beat course form either. So I'll probably be bored enough and stick with him. I think I will. Yeah. Now the only thing about it is he's in the 2-5 race, and if Willie is going to split them, I think that he will run Start Dynamo in the Supreme, and he'll go to the other race with Sir Gerhard, because I don't think they'll be able to settle Start Dynamo well enough over a trip as well as it will be in the Supreme, obviously over the shorter distance. And that's the way I think he possibly might separate them,
What's going to win the Arkle chase then, Conor Dwyer? We have Edward Stone, Blue Lord, Riviere de Tel, but it's an open contest. Quickly.
It is. Like Edward Stone all along, he's been just very solid horse, jumps well, stays well. Gordon's mare was very unlucky in Leopardstown the last day, so I think I might just with the allowance, the £7 allowance, 4-1 Riviere de Tel.
Riviere de Tel for Gordon Elliott in the Arkle Chase. The bumper, who's going to win that? Is it Facile Vega with a facile victory, Sean Flanagan?
Look, it's very hard to knock. He's been very, very impressive. Also in a race where you need an awful lot of things to go your way as well. But he has the pedigree in the book. He has the form in the book. I did see Gordon's horse, American Mike, do a piece of work. Actually, funny enough, American Mike and Flora and Porter ended up in the same school and bumper in Fairyhouse a couple of weeks ago. And there was a couple of lads thought they were going well into the straight, and within 150 yards there was a furlong between two horses and the rest of the field. And it turned out it was American Mike and Flora and Porter. They both looked to work really, really well. But I am actually going to maybe go a small little bit again to grain and go for another one of Willie's in this race that won a bumper at Christmas in Leopardstown, a horse called Redemption Day. I really, really like him. I actually got to sit on him as a youngster before he went to Willie's, and I loved him. And I thought he was massively impressive in Leopardstown, and the form of that race has worked out quite well since, with a couple of horses from behind him gone and one bumper since. So I think he's got it all to do to beat Facile Vega, but I'll go for value and go Redemption Day.
Will you oppose the favourite Conor Dwyer in the bumper, Facile Vega?
Oh, it'll be hard to, John. A good friend of mine trains in Wexford. John Berry broke him for Willie, and he said from day one, he's never ever sat or seen anything like him. He said from day one he was a champion, and he's shown that on the course. So look, as Sean said, the bumper is very messy at times, and you need things going your way. But oh my God, the way he's done things to me, he's a superstar.
Yes or no, Sean Flanagan? Does Allaho win the Ryanair Chase?
Yes, probably. Yeah, it's actually probably not the greatest renewal of the Ryanair Chase. He's obviously been there, and he was very impressive, I thought, last year. And funnily enough, his form last year would have tied in with Manila Indo as well. So I think yes, he wins the Ryanair. Yeah.
Is he a yes for you, Conor?
Yeah. It's more probably hard to pick one to beat him, John, to be honest. Nergaman out there, Conflated obviously was very good in Leopardstown, but he sounds like an unknown quantity, and he sounds like a bit of an in and out type of horse. So sure. Look, he's been there. The gallop he set last year was amazing and kept it up. So yeah, you have to say he would.
Sean, sorry, go on, Sean.
Sorry, does Conflated fall another one of those ones that might fall into the crowd thing? Is he? Right. Does it get a bit flighty? Maybe I'm not 100% sure. I just heard someone saying something about maybe not. No, it could be a different horse, but I thought he might be another one that they were a bit worried about crowds as well. But
Galopin des Champs, lads, wherever he goes, does he win, Conor?
You'd like to think so. What he's shown us has been phenomenal. Really, he's jumping. He just looks like he's not out of second gear. Left-handed Leopardstown, he's been brilliant. So Cheltenham should suit it. Again, it'd be very hard to go against him. But the English horse in what is it?
Brave Man's Game. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He's been again when you hear Paul Nichols comparing him to Denman, you have to sit up and take a bit of notice.
Sure.
He's put up super performances around Newbury and places. I think it'll be a good race. I wouldn't just say it's not going to be easy for Willie's horse. The other horse will definitely, if they meet, will definitely push him to the limit.
Yeah, it could be Bob Ollinger as well if he goes for the shorter race.
Yeah.
Anything in the mares races, guys? The novice hurdle, the actual mares hurdle, or the chase, Sean? Anything in the mare? Any mare that you want to pick out?
Asher is in Concertista, the mare of Willie's. She's a massive chance in the mare's chase. She's in the mare's hurdle too. She'd probably have a massive chance if she went there too. The mare's hurdle is actually a wide open contest. I think Tell Me Something Girl was obviously very impressive there last year. Her runs after that were a little bit hit and miss, but her last run, I think she was very, very unlucky. Things just didn't really go her way through the race, but she finished off quite well, and I suppose it's probably a great preparation for her going forward. So Yeah, probably both of those, I'd imagine. Yeah.
We've had Sean Flanagan probably for the last half hour, Conor, telling us about people he's met and all these kind of brilliant pieces of insight into who's working well. Have you got anything like that to share?
Funny enough, no. And if something worked well under my weight at the minute, you could have your life on it, Cheltenham, let me tell you. But I haven't been, no.
All right.
I haven't been asked to do anything like that.
Is there another Jeff Kidder in Noel Meade's yard? Are you going over with anything that you hope might do something, Sean, this week?
Yeah, well, I did fancy Lunar Power a little bit for the Boodles again. He had two very, very good runs behind Phil Dorr in two good races, and when we got our Irish handicap mark, I thought we were going to be doing really, really well. And then the English handicapper had different ideas, and he put that to bed fairly sharp for us. So I think he might reroute him, maybe. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but there's talks about him maybe going for the Triumph instead. And that's obviously going to be a very, very hard race to win. But at the same time, he's only been 4 to 5 lengths behind Phil Dorr on his last two outings. So he does go there with a bit of a chance. I'm looking forward to riding Beacon Edge in the Brown Advisory. Unfortunately, we've got to take on Brave Man's Game and probably Gallop and Deschamps by the sounds of it. And they're obviously two very, very smart horses. My lad had a very good run the last day at Navan when he had to give £7 to the eventual winner, and he only beat me probably a half a length in the end. And it was a kind of a disrupted preparation for my lad going into that race. It wasn't the plan for him to go there, but he fell with me in the race. The Gallop and Deschamps won at Leopardstown, and we just didn't want to go there off the back of a fall. So we ran him there, and he had to give away the £7 because he's a Grade 1 winner, So we've got both of those going. We've got Jesse Evans maybe goes for the county hurdle. He was fourth in the Galway hurdle. He's a horse that has a high level of ability at handicap level. So he's in good form. And we've got Cask Mate. He's a hardy bloke. 2S Permi goes for the Banks. That should be a bit of fun. He had actually really encouraging first run over Banks at Punchestown a couple of weeks ago, and he's a horse with a very high level. He's won a Grade 2 with Chase. He's won a Tri-Town. So if he takes to the Banks, which I think he will do, he's obviously jumped the bigger Banks a little bit careful and slow, but I think the English Banks will bring out the best in him. So he goes for that. And we've got Ida's Boy for the Albert Bartlett. Yeah. He stays really well. The nicer the ground, I think the better for him as well, So he goes. And I know School by Hours is in a couple of handicaps. I'm just not sure whether he goes or what he goes for.
Okay. Just to finish, Conor O'Dwyer, is your Nap one of the horses you've given us already in the championship races or something else?
Well, look, yeah, they're Naps, but as you say, she can't back half them. Probably Minella Indo would be my
Nap
bet of the week, and horse at Party Broaches Brazil in the Boodles handicap won very well in Ace. He got a bit of a penalty, all right, but 8-10 to 1 there. Definitely good each way value.
That's your each way bet of the week, Brazil in that race. That's in the colours of JB McManus. Yeah, I think it's on the Tuesday.
The Tuesday, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay. Keep an eye out for him. Sean won the race last year. Sean, then is your Nap one of the ones you've already mentioned?
No. I think Bob Olinger. I'm going to go for Bob Olinger for my Nap. I was in the Bromheads right now yesterday morning, and I kind of had said that if Bob Olinger had to bump into Gallop and Deschamps, that Gallop and Deschamps might get the better of him. And I spoke to a couple of people down there yesterday, and they changed my mind. They said that he's a fantastic horse and he does jump well, and he ticks all the boxes that's needed for the top class level. They reckon he's going to improve when he goes over. So I'm going to go Bob Olinger for a Nap, and for an each way bet, I think the horse in the Gold Cup of Willie's
Album Photo. And are they happy now where they are down at the Bromheads Yard? Because they had an unbelievable year last year. They won everything. They won the Gold Cup, the Champion Chase, the Champion Hurdle, the Grand National, 1-2. Are they feel as they're as sparkly as they were last year?
Yeah, I think Henry's a phenomenal trainer, and it seems like that they all seem to just click into gear when it gets to that point. You know, you go back, everyone was kind of saying that the horses were under a bit of a cloud and they weren't running well. And then he rocks up to Naas 10 days ago and he wins the first 2 or 3 races, and it just started to turn the corner a little bit for them, you know. So, yeah, they seem to be quite happy. I suppose any yard, when you have such a year last year, you know, you are going to be a bit cautious going into next year, thinking, you know, it's going to be hard to better it. Whether it can equal it or not, it'd be a bonus, you know. So I suppose it probably is a little bit of that as well. But yeah, no, they seem to be quite happy with where they are with everything as well.
And Willie Mullins and Gordon Elliott, I'd expect will have a lot of winners this week, Conor Dwyer.
Absolutely. I'd say Gordon probably has as good a team going as he's had for a long, long time. Sure, Willie always as he is, you know, whether even appreciate it hasn't ran for a year, it wouldn't worry you. You know, he's a phenomenal man, and he doesn't send him there for the fresh air. So between the three of them, oh my God, it's, you know, they're going to mop up, I think.
Very good. Well, hopefully you lads will mop up in terms of your enjoyment of the Cheltenham Festival 2022. Legends on the saddle, Conor O'Dwyer, Gold Cup and Champion Hurdle winner, and the pilot, that is Sean Flanagan. Enjoy your week, lads, and thanks so much for speaking to the panel on Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk.
Thanks a million, John. Pleasure.
Thanks very much, John. Cheers. Thanks, Conor.
All right, lads. Thanks so much. Our panel this week's been brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Share every racing moment. Visit hri.ie or follow Horse Racing Ireland on social media.